Today I'm in the garage with this, my 1999 Mercedes-Benz C43 AMG. Now I'll admit, this car cosmetically, it's in pretty rough shape, but mechanically it's not all that bad. It just needs a few repairs that are very common to this era Mercedes, so I figured, why not bring it to the Mercedes-Benz dealership for an estimate? That's a good idea, right? And so that's exactly what I did. I brought my C43 to the local Mercedes-Benz dealership for something that's called a pre-purchase inspection. Now, this is an inspection that you would get if you were looking to, say, buy a used car and you wanted to know everything that's wrong with that car. At the dealership, they give you this. It's a multi-point inspection form. It's got a lot of boxes and it generally tells you the condition of your car. Now, at some dealerships, they give you a really cool pamphlet showing you pictures of all the parts on your car that need to be replaced and why. Actually, really cool of them to do that. At the end, you get this, a repair estimate, and in this case, a very large repair estimate. They break it down line by line on exactly what needs to be done to your car and how much it costs. So in this video, we're gonna break down the cost of some of the repairs on this car. I'm gonna show you what the dealership would charge. I'm gonna show you what you could do this on your own for, and then I'm gonna show you how much this would cost if you were to, say, pay a mechanic that works out of a garage like this one to do it for cash on the side. As you can see behind me, I have all the parts to fix up this car. Now, I received these parts from a really cool place called FCP Euro. It's an online parts supplier for European cars, and they sell everything on their website with a lifetime warranty. It's completely insane. This includes wear items like brakes and clutches. You could wear them out for many years, send them back in all ruined and worn out, and they send you back a new part in exchange. It's an unbelievable program, something you're never gonna find really anywhere else, and especially not at the dealership. So definitely check out FCP Euro. The link will be in the description below, along with a link to all the parts that I'll be replacing on the C43. With all that being said, let's get started under the hood. Let's take a look at the radiator, and that's probably the biggest problem with this car right now, is that it is leaking antifreeze, and it honestly can't really be driven for that long. Like I said, the radiator on this car is leaking, and what happened was one of the previous owners replaced the fan clutch and they didn't properly secure the shroud, which is normally around here. I actually had to rip the shroud out just to get the car home, as this wouldn't spin at all. It was all jammed up. So what happened was it hit the shroud. As you can see, some of the fan blades are actually, well, pretty much all of them are broken. And what happened was one of these eventually hit the radiator, and you can kind of see down here that the radiator is leaking. So basically what we need here is we need an entire new radiator, we need a new fan, we need a new fan clutch, and we need a new shroud. At the dealership, this is $1,455.48. Sticking with the cooling system, we have the thermostat on this car. Now, not really sure of its age, but the car has 178,000 miles, so kind of like as a preventative measure, I want to replace the thermostat. So $234 for a thermostat from the dealer. Up next, we have a couple very common transmission leaks on this era Mercedes, and they're coming from right here. That's where the electrical connector plugs into the transmission. There's a little sleeve with a couple of O-rings, see that little yellow connector there? And when that leaks, it'll leak both externally and, more importantly, it'll leak internally. It'll go all the way through the wiring harness, and the fluid will actually make its way to the control module right here, fill this module up with fluid, and then cause it to short out. Now this one is shifting just fine, and I don't believe this module is bad. So this can totally just be cleaned out, and obviously the sleeve replaced. And then our biggest transmission leak is coming from right back here where the shifter cable goes into the back of the trans. There's a seal inside of there, and look at all this fluid. So that needs to be replaced, and the pan does need to be dropped in order to do that repair. So while you have the pan down and all the fluid out, there's a part called a transmission conductor plate in here. It sits on top of the valve body, and it basically is a circuit board for the valve body that holds the shift solenoids. They go bad a lot in these cars, so while you're in there, definitely something smart to replace. So I had the dealership quote me on doing that. Both the leaks, the fluid, the filter, the pan gasket, everything from the dealership is $1,778 plus tax. Next up, we have the cheapest part on the list by far, and that is a shifter bushing. If you look at the shifter linkage there, there's a bushing and a clip, and then if you follow that linkage towards the front of the car, it's pretty much impossible for me to get on camera. There's another bushing just like that one. It falls out, and then your shifter sounds bad when you're going into gear. It just kind of clunks around, so that needs to be replaced. The dealership wants $44.95 to replace the bushing and the clip. Up next, we have one I don't really agree with, and that is a power steering leak. Now, clearly it is leaking pretty bad, but the dealership quoted me for a brand new power steering pump and reservoir, stating that it's the pump that's actually leaking. So let me show you up top.
what's really leaking on this car. And that would be right here. That is the reservoir, and in between the reservoir and the pump, there is this. This is a little tiny seal, and that leaks. It gets really hard and it starts to leak fluid, and it can kind of look like the pump, but those always go bad. So I would have definitely not quoted on the pump and the reservoir. I think that's a little nuts, but they wanted $1,145 parts and labor to do this repair. Here we have the rear brakes. The dealer is claiming that the pads are low and that the rotors are heavily rusted and need to be replaced. They're not rusted at all, not even the inside, not even a little bit. But regardless, $687 rear pads and rotors from the dealer. Here we have the front pads and rotors. Now, the dealer did not claim that these need to be replaced. I just simply had them quote me on the front pads and rotors to give you guys an idea of a complete brake job. They want $1,489 for the front pads and rotors. Last up on the list is the rear differential. They claim that the entire differential needs to be resealed, although it looks to me just like a side seal and possibly a breather up top. But either way, they want $1,248 to do this repair, and I'll probably hold off on this for a little bit, maybe do it over the winter time.
And that's everything that the Mercedes dealership found wrong with the C43 and exactly what they wanted to fix it all. So let me fix this car up for you guys really quick and give you a breakdown on exactly what it costs to fix at the dealership, do it yourself, and what you could expect to pay someone on the side. It's a couple days later and the C43 is all fixed up. I'm cleaned up, there's no parts on the table, and this gave me a great opportunity to put together a very simple chart for all of you out there comparing the cost of the dealership, doing it yourself, and paying someone cash on the side. Now, the first two, very easy to figure out. We simply go off of the repair estimate for the dealer cost, and the DIY cost is just what you pay for the parts, which I'll link everything down below so you can see that for yourself. Now, the cash side job cost is a little bit tricky. This depends on quite a few things, but what I did was I simply pulled a few mechanics that live all around the country and do this type of work out of their garage, and we came up with a figure of $75 per hour. Now, essentially what we did was we took the labor rate at a dealership in your area and we just cut it in half. That's about what you should be paying a qualified technician to work on your car for cash on the side. Now, this can go down drastically depending on who you're paying to work on your car, but you gotta be very careful here because someone that doesn't know what they're doing can end up costing you way more than even the dealership, so be very careful. And at the end of the video, I'll go over briefly how you even find a guy like this that does work out of his garage. So let's just get into it. First repair, radiator, fan clutch, fan blade, and shroud, dealership $1,455. I did this all for $385. The dealership calls for 4 hours of labor, so times 75 bucks, we get $685 cash side job. Moving along, we have the transmission conductor plate, the sleeve, the interlock seal, the fluid, the filter, everything out the door at the dealership, $1,787. I did this for, get this, $277 using a factory Mercedes conductor plate. Yeah, it's that cheap. Now you figure the dealership quoted 6 hours of labor, which I think is kind of high, but for comparison's sake, we'll use it. Multiply that by 75. And on the side, this is a $727 cash repair. Next up, shifter bushing. With the clip, this is like $8 in parts. You figure cash side job, $20 at the most, maybe throw them a 6-pack of beer. It's pretty simple to do that. Then we have the power steering pump and the reservoir, which if you remember, wasn't even bad, but for comparison's sake, let's just pretend it was. DIY cost $178 for the pump and the reservoir. And then you figure 2 hours of labor to do that. So you're looking at $328 to do the entire power steering pump and reservoir repair. Also, if you want to just look at what it really cost to fix the car, it was just the seal. The dealership would charge around $190 for that seal. The part is like $6. So you're talking $81 on the side to actually fix what was wrong with the power steering. Moving along, we got the rear brakes, which I didn't do. I'll do those a little bit later. They're really not that bad. $687 at the dealership. I can do this for $154 out the door. 2 hours of labor for the rear pads and rotors, so $304 cash side job. Front pads and rotors, very expensive at the dealer, $1,489. I could do this for $476, and then you figure cash on the side, $625 out the door, compared to almost $1,500. That's quite the difference. At the end here, we have the differential resale. The dealership wants $1,248. I haven't done this yet. I'll do it over the winter time. DIY cost is like $100. These seals are very inexpensive if you replace all of them. It's really cheap, but it is labor intensive. 7 hours of labor times $75. We're looking at $625 for the rear differential reseal. Tally it all up and you're looking at a little over $1,500 to do it yourself, $3,300 to pay someone cash on the side, and that's comparing to the full $8,500 dealership estimate that includes the brakes and the differential, and it includes the power steering pump and reservoir that isn't bad at all on this car. So needless to say, there's a ton of savings to be had out there. And in a future video, I'm gonna go over the pros and cons of going to the dealership versus paying someone cash on the side. And I'm also gonna show you another option, which is going to a good independent shop, because there's a lot of money to be saved there as well. But for now, how do you even find a guy that does this type of work out of his garage? Well, there's a couple different ways. First things first, talk to your neighbors, the ones who have been around for a long time and who drive older cars. There's a very good chance that one of them knows of someone who works out of their garage. Secondly, get online. There's a ton of forums. There's a ton of social media groups that cover basically every single make and model in existence. Join those groups, join the forums, put up a post stating where you live and exactly what type of work you're looking for, and chances are you'll get some people that'll comment with the mechanic that they use. And make sure to get a ton of references, meet the person, trust your gut. You want to be safe here, and make sure that they've at least worked at a dealership or an independent shop in the past and that you're getting good quality work done. And that'll do it for today's video. I really hope you enjoyed this one. I plan on making more in the future with different makes and models. And no, I do not work out of my garage any longer. I've retired from this kind of work. My full-time job and having 2 babies and YouTube, and I also write, definitely has taken up all of my time. But you can email me at legitstreetcars@gmail.com or follow and message me on Instagram at legitstreetcars, and I'll try and answer all of your questions. You can send me an estimate and I'll let you know if you're getting ripped off or not. With all that being said, if you're new, please consider subscribing. I'd absolutely love to have you. And to all my current subscribers, thank you so much for watching the videos. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I'll see you in the next video.